So now we have to start foreign trade policy. Foreign trade policy, and this is 2023. One of the important documents in the course of import-export activities, because every import-export activity has to be only in accordance with the provisions of foreign trade policy, right? So as far as Customs Act is concerned, that is about the levy and collection of duty. As far as FEMA is concerned, that is about inflow and outflow of foreign exchange. But when it comes to entry or exit of the goods or services, that is regulated by the foreign trade policy, right? So when we talk about EXIM business, EXIM business. So mainly there are three laws. These are main. There may be other laws as well, but mainly in the course of EXIM business, first of all, we have the Customs Act, read with Customs and Tariff Act. Then we have Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act, read with Foreign Trade Policy. And next one that we have, that is Foreign Exchange Management Act, right? These two are about levy and collection of duty, right? This is about import, export of goods, services, technology. And FEMA relates to inward and outward remittance of forex, that is foreign exchange. So whether foreign exchange is coming to India or it is going from India, both are regulated by FEMA. Right. So these three are the main laws in connection with the import-export business. As far as these two are concerned, the main authority under this is CBIC. And CBIC comes under Ministry of Finance, which is the main authority under FTP.
Commerce Ministry. Commerce Ministry.
DGFT. Right. That is about Ministry of Commerce. Okay. FEMA comes under, the main authority is
RBI.
RBI. Right.
Ministry of Finance.
The control of
Ministry of Finance.
Ministry of Finance. Okay. So now you know which are the laws and what is the main objective of those authorities. So basically three laws. Customs and Custom Tariff Act you have already studied in detail. FEMA to a certain extent I have already elaborated what is relevant for you. FTDRA we have done, and now we are on foreign trade policy. Okay. Now the foreign trade policy Who is authorized to frame the foreign trade policy?
Central government.
Central government.
Central government.
The central government is authorized to frame the foreign trade policy. Okay. And how it is authorized? What is the way of authorization?
Under section 5
Under section 5 of
of FTDRA.
FTDRA. Okay. So under section 5 of FTDRA, the central government is authorized to make and amend the foreign trade policy. So not only power to make, power to amend is also there with the central government, and that comes from section 5 of the Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act. Okay. Now, when we go through the policy, in a total, this is having 11 chapters. This is having 11 chapters. Not all are relevant. Okay. Some of the things are, so here we have the foreign trade policy. How many chapters are there? 1. Legal framework, general provisions, development restriction, export hubs, then duty exemption, remission, EPCG scheme, then EOU scheme, etc. Then deemed export quality complaints, promoting, then SOMET, etc. Now, even before we go ahead into details, I'm giving you 2 things for homework, right? And that homework cannot be done in one day, and don't try to finish off in one day, but keep on doing it repeatedly. The first thing is list of acronyms. It is already given here in the document, right? This is here. Throughout the policy, these acronyms have been used, and I have seen the questions in the exam where they are asking the full form of these acronyms. Read 2-3 times and things will automatically be clear. Okay, what are these acronyms? Okay, and then the definitions which are relevant for the foreign trade policy, those are given under chapter number 11. Chapter number 11. Okay, so that is to be read for reference. Okay, बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल में जाने की आवश्यकता नहीं है. Okay, so as I said, starting with the homework. So what is the homework? So this
Acronyms.
chapters, first of all, I'm dividing that in 2 parts.
Acronyms.
Directly homework given to you. First is
List of acronyms.
and chapter
Definition. Chapter 11.
11, that is definitions, right? So we will be doing in this week and only foreign trade policy. So if you have any confusion about any definition, we can always discuss, but there is nothing much to explain. So that's why I'm not spending time therein. And then we have other chapters. In other chapters, again, I'm bifurcating important ones and others. What are important chapters? Chapter number 1, chapter number 2, chapter number 4, chapter number 5, chapter number 6. These are important chapters. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. Okay. All other chapters, those will go here. So chapter number 3, 7, 8, 9, 10. When I say other chapters, these are, it doesn't mean that you don't have to even look at those. One reading is required. But these are really important one, which we are going to discuss in detail in the class. If the time permits, certainly we can touch up these topics also, but actually we will be focusing on chapter number 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6. Okay. And what was the homework given for today?
Acronyms.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1. तो कितने लोगों ने पढ़ लिया?
मैंने पढ़ लिया सर.
Okay.
पढ़ लिया सर, हमने भी पढ़ा.
बहुत कम लोगों ने बताया पढ़ लिया अभी तक. कुछ लोग सोच रहे हैं बताऊं नहीं बताऊं, है ना? और हाँ बोल भी दिया तो नहीं पढ़ा तो कोई सर को क्या पता लगेगा. ठीक है.
नहीं पढ़ा सर, नहीं पढ़ा.
ऑनेस्टी इज द बेस्ट पॉलिसी. नहीं किया उतनी हिम्मत होना चाहिए बोलने की नहीं किया.
एक्चुअली ऐसी जेड एक्ट किया था सर. वो एक्चुअली टेस्ट है ना सर शनिवार को.
गुड.
सर सिर्फ आधा किया.
बेटा जो भी करें जिंदगी में, सिर्फ इसके लिए बात नहीं कर रहा हूं. एनीथिंग दैट यू डू और डोंट डू, प्लीज एक्सेप्ट दैट. राइट. So now going to chapter number 1. So these acronyms I have given you for the homework. और ये आगे जब काम में आएंगे तो आपको और ज्यादा पता लगेगा how relevant these are to do. Right? So if you can read it by tomorrow, nothing like it. So tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, आप जितना कर लोगे उतना आपके लिए फायदा रहेगा. Now coming to chapter number 1. In chapter number 1, few points are relevant and important. Again, you can mark those while going through these topics. Point number 1, what does it say? केवल पढ़ो और आगे बढ़ो. उसको दोबारा करने की जरूरत भी नहीं है. You can put a cross on point number 1 if you have a printout. उसको दोबारा पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं है. Okay. Then again, what is the validity period of the policy?
This time there is no validity.
Right. So the government is having a right to either withdraw or amend the policy. So there is no validity period fixed in the foreign trade policy 2023. So this point also you can put a cross, because you already know that this time FTP 2023 is not meant for 5 years. So this will continue to be valid unless it is amended or it is revised or it is withdrawn or it is substituted. Okay. Amendment of FTP. Who is having the authority to amend the FTP?
Central government.
Under section 5, again the power of the amendment is vested with the central government. That was already noted here also. The power to make and to amend the policy is vested with the central government by virtue of section 5 of the Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act. Okay. हैंडबुक का प्रोसीजर, अब ये जो पॉलिसी बनाना गवर्नमेंट का काम है, हैंडबुक का प्रोसीजर कौन बनाएगा?
DGFT.
दिस इज सिंपली राइट देयर इन, यहीं पर हेडिंग में आगे लिख लो बाय DGFT, ताकि टॉपिक आपको दोबारा पढ़ने ना पड़े पूरा पैराग्राफ. So the handbook of procedure has to be made by DGFT. Okay. Now this is something which is common, specific provision to prevail over general. What do you mean by this? What do you understand by this? General principle of law.
Any specific law, any specific things will be prevail over the general.
Right. Okay.
Any things given in the FTP will be prevail the other. Correct, no sir?
Not only that, even in FTP also we have general provisions and specific provisions. Right. So chapter number 1 is general. Chapter number 2 is again general. Chapter number 4 becomes specific. Okay, so chapter number 2 says import export shall be free unless the goods are regulated or those are restricted category. And under chapter number 4 you talk about advance authorization, special authorizations, etc. Why that is required? That is a special provision, because when you want to import without paying duty for a specific purpose, that is a special provision. If you want to import generally, that is governed by chapter number 2. So there shall not be a contradiction to understand in the understanding. That's why this point is given, that anywhere a specific provision is given, that will always prevail over general provision. Even in the rules of interpretation, in schedule number 1 also we talked about that any specific entry will always prevail over general entry. Here also we are talking about same thing, that any specific provision in the FTP will always prevail over general provision. Right. So this is referring to FTP only. Okay. So this is saying that any general provision will be superseded by a specific provision, or in other words, a specific provision shall always prevail over general provisions. ठीक है, तो इसलिए वहां पर एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए कुछ है नहीं, इसलिए आगे बढ़ सकते हैं। आगे ट्रांजिशन प्रोविजंस पुट अक्रॉस ऑन दिस, ये आपको पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं। दिस वाज रिलेवेंट एज ऑन 1 जनवरी 2023 जब ये पॉलिसी पिक्चर में आई थी, है ना। सो दैट सिंपली सेड द all the licenses, authorization, certificate, description, etc. issued under the previous foreign policy will continue till the expiry of the validity period. So इसको भी करने की जरूरत नहीं है। पॉइंट नंबर 6 नहीं करना है, पुट अक्रॉस करने की जरूरत नहीं है। पॉइंट नंबर 7, व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ DGFT? The role of DGFT we discussed under section 6 of the Foreign Trade Development Regulation Act, under which he is appointed, and we said that when the foreign trade policy is framed, he is the advisor to the government, and once the policy has been framed, he is responsible for implementation, and during the course of implementation of the policy, he is the facilitator. His role is functions as a facilitator for imports and exports. So initially we already talked about that the handbook of procedure is to be framed by DGFT. All the procedures are going to be prescribed by him, but his role is facilitator. He is not the regulator. What regulates? Import export is regulated by the foreign trade policy, and who is framing the foreign trade policy? The central government, right? So the DGFT is not the regulator of import export. He is the facilitator. He is responsible for implementation of the policy, and the policy regulates import export, and policy is framed by central government. So in nutshell, you can say that import export is regulated by central government, but facilitated by DGFT, right? How it is facilitated? So all the schemes, all the procedures, all the forms are prescribed by DGFT. Now these 2 points are very, very important for understanding, not for the purpose of exam. ये 2 पॉइंट जो है आपको समझना है, लेकिन एग्जाम में शायद इसका रिलेवेंस उतना ना हो, प्रैक्टिकली इसका रिलेवेंस बहुत है इन दोनों पॉइंट्स का। पॉइंट नंबर 8 says free passage of export consignment. This says consignment of items meant for export shall not be withheld or delayed for any reason by any agency of the central government or state government. कितना इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट डाल दिया। अगर एक्सपोर्ट कंसाइनमेंट है तो कोई सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी हो, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी हो, किसी के पास उस कंसाइनमेंट को रोकने का राइट नहीं है, whatever be the situation. और उसमें आगे का in case of any doubt, authorities concerned may have the undertaking for export and release the consignment. So that is the extreme कि आप undertaking लो और consignment तो जाने दो, consignment रुकना नहीं चाहिए, otherwise that itself can become a reason for complaint against the authorities. So export consignment cannot be withheld for any reason, either withheld or delayed. So question is, if the goods are being exported illegally, can that be detained by the authorities?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
अब यहाँ तो मना कर रहे हैं।
नहीं सर, जो नेक्स्ट आप जाइए।
देखिए हमने कहा इलीगल एक्सपोर्ट मतलब स्मगलिंग के लिए प्रोविजन थोड़ी है, प्रोविजन इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट के लिए, इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट में से इन अकॉर्डिंग विद द प्रोविजंस ऑफ लॉ, राइट? सो व्हेन एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग ऑन इन अकॉर्डिंग विद द प्रोसीजर ऑफ लॉ, देन नथिंग कैन बी विथहेल्ड. व्हेन इट कम्स टू इलीगल इंपोर्ट और इलीगल एक्सपोर्ट, दैट इज स्मगलिंग, एंड स्मगलिंग इज नॉट इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट. So this concept of point number 8 is not applicable in relation to any kind.
Sir, one question.
हाँ जी.
Small errors like e-way bill from factory to port, any discrepancy is there, that also they cannot stop.
Procedural lacuna is not illegality.
No, they cannot stop, right?
Procedural lacunas have, right? So illegality is contravention or non-compliance with the law. ना ई-वे बिल में तो आज की तारीख में जो जिस साइट पर आप सारा काम करते वही गड़बड़ कर देती है, पोर्टल ही गड़बड़ कर देता था, आप क्या करेंगे? Okay, so throughout the law, not only this law, any law you study, and the court has always been of the opinion that procedural lapses की वजह से it cannot be considered to be a contravention or the violation of law.
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Yes, please.
As sir told, e-way bill in road transport, if e-way bill is not provided, the goods are hold to be seized kind of thing for a temporary purpose until and unless we provide e-way bill or something else like that. In these cases, how it will be managed, sir?
To give the undertaking.
Question is it an export consignment? So how do you prove it is an export consignment? So
Export invoice.
if there is any documentary evidence to establish that this is export consignment, nobody can stop that. They may hold it for 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, not beyond that. They have to take undertaking and let it go. And if they do not do that, simply keep a track and submit a report to the Ministry of Commerce. बस उतना काफी है.
Okay, sir.
है ना? Next. Now this is no seizure of export related stock. अब देखो उसमें आगे क्या बात कर रहे हैं. No seizure shall be made by any agency, again any agency, whether it's central government, state government, or whosoever it means, so as to disrupt the manufacturing activity and delivery schedule of export. So when we say manufacturing, so it may be in relation to the input required for manufacture, or the process of manufacture, or maybe the goods are being transported to the port or airport of export. So anything in relation to export cannot be seized. So whether this is in relation to manufacture or this is in relation to the delivery of the manufactured goods. अब अगर exceptional कुछ cases बन जाएं तब क्या होगा? Then what it is said? In exceptional cases, so they will have to justify how it is exceptional. They will have to keep it in record and writing. Concerned agency may seize the stock on the basis of prima facie evidence of serious irregularity. Irregularity is one part and serious irregularity is another part. However, such seizure shall also be lifted within 7 days, unless serious irregularities are substantiated. तो अगर मामला बहुत ही ज्यादा गड़बड़ है तो जरूर वो सीज हो जाएगा, लेकिन otherwise no authority is having a right to. So when we say serious irregularity, means it is a intentional contravention or violation of the law that will be treated as a serious irregularity. Procedural lapse, technical issues, because of that is not considered as a serious irregularity. So these 2 points are relevant for you in practical life or in day-to-day matters. So authorities cannot stop anything which is in relation to export. Okay. And for export of perishable items, single window clearance has been provided. This is only one line understanding that for any perishable items, perishable agro items, single window clearance has been given. So उसमें जो आपको underline करना है, that is simply a single window system to facilitate export. That's it. निर्यात बंद करने की जरूरत नहीं है, इसका जरूरत नहीं है. Now this is EIC, importer exporter code number, how it is allotted. And how long does it take, that we have already discussed before. IEC is allotted online, right? What is required for obtaining IEC? PAN card, GSTIN, current account. 3 चीजें आपको चाहिए, and you can open that immediately. Okay, so that now it is certificate is not sent physically. Now it is e-certificate, so that you can utilize anywhere. Similarly, the certificate of RCMC or RC, right? So every person who is into business of import and export has to be a registered member of the EPC or EPB. Now listen this line carefully, right? Holding IEC is one part. Being involved into import-export activity, that is another part. ओके, IC लेना 10 मिनट में मिल जाएगा आपको. But being involved into import-export activity, for that, the next step required is membership of Export Promotion
Council.
or Export Promotion Board. Right? Roughly 29 export promotion councils and boards are there for different items, different categories of items. There are different export promotion councils. For agriculture products, there is only one, that is APEDA. But otherwise, 29 in total, maybe more, एक दो number आगे पीछे और भी हो सकते हैं. So these many export promotion councils and boards are there. And depending upon your industry, you have to be member of one of the associations. Right. So every time, so RC is that registration certificate. RCMC, that is called a registration cum membership certificate. So that is another important thing required for being involved into import-export activity. Particularly in relation to export, without RCMC, you cannot do. And the EPCs are responsible for issuing
Certificate of origin. Certificate of origin.
Certificate of origin. Right. क्योंकि जब भी आप export करने जाएंगे and you are exporting to some other country where the goods are entitled for preferential rate of duty or lower rate of duty because of bilateral agreement between government of India and government of that country, then it has to be supported with the certificate of origin. And over and above that, certificate of origin is also two kinds. One is general, another is preferential category. So the issuer will know in which country preferential treatment is available. So as an exporter, you may not be even aware of that you are exporting the goods to so and so country, and there the government of India is having a preferential agreement or preferential rate of duty agreement. But when the certificate is issued, they will tell you that you are entitled for preferential rate of duty. So before exporting, you can certainly ask the export promotion councils that this is the product, is it eligible for any preferential rate in any country? Okay, so that is for those who want to involve into import-export activities. उनको क्या करना चाहिए? So this point is that after obtaining IEC, if you want to be engaged in the business of import-export, the next step required is acquiring membership of Export Promotion Council. Right? अगर आप Google करेंगे तो आपको बहुत सारे export promotion councils मिल जाएंगे, and depending upon your product, you can choose for where you should be acquiring membership. Right? गलत जगह आप अप्लाई कर देंगे, वो अपने आप रिजेक्ट कर देंगे आपको. So you are not going to lose anything. So you have to be engaged in that industry only the membership is given, otherwise not. है ना? तो उसका आपने मेंबरशिप ले लिया. अब वो सर्टिफिकेट भी जो है आपको हर बार इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट डॉक्यूमेंट्स के साथ अटैच करना होता है. सो दैट इज आल्सो गिवन इन द इलेक्ट्रॉनिक फॉर्म नाउ. सो इट इज ERCMC और इट इज ERC. तो क्या ये पॉइंट समझ आया? So DGFT has created a common digital platform for application for issuance or renewal, amendment, related process and related certificate, etc. Now, the certificate of origin is also issued electronically. Right. So DGFT can also issue, otherwise it is issued by Export Promotion Council. But DGFT can also issue, and DGFT has created a common platform for issue of preferential and non-preferential certificate of origin. दोनों तरह के सर्टिफिकेट वहीं से इशू हो जाएंगे. ओके, अब क्वालिटी कंट्रोल के लिए कौन सा चैप्टर है? नंबर 8. राइट. अब वो कंप्लेंट्स वगैरह जो भी करना उसके लिए गवर्नमेंट DGFT has created a specific facility. So this point is directly related to chapter number 8. यहां पर इसको करने की आवश्यकता नहीं है. नेक्स्ट. Now, electronic record of export proceeds through the EBRC. Now, if you remember, I talked about that when the person applies for importer-exporter code number, he is required to furnish the particulars of a specific bank account. And all the transactions of the import-export shall be routed through their bank account only. Okay, so what is the purpose? Any remittance coming in, because whenever there is an export, the documents have to be submitted to the authorized dealer. Or who's the authorized dealer? The same bank whose details have been furnished in the IEC. So all the documents are negotiated through the bank, and payment is also coming through the bank. So things are related. So BRC, that is Bank Realization Certificate. So when the export proceeds are realized, the bank issues the certificate that is called BRC, Bank Realization Certificate. Now that is also in electronic form now. And as of now, what has happened in last 3 years, that it is also issued in the electronic form. And now if the banker doesn't issue you a physical copy, the moment BRC is issued electronically, it is directly goes automatically to all the authorities.
Only they uploaded to DGFT.
सारी चीजें अपने आप हो रही हैं. तो उसका फैसिलिटी क्या मिल गया आपको कि जो भी इंसेंटिव्स वगैरह आपको मिलना है, डायरेक्टली अप्लाई फॉर द इंसेंटिव्स रादर देन क्लेमिंग, वेटिंग फॉर रिसीविंग द बीआरसी एंड देन फाइलिंग दैट फिजिकली. All that is gone. And moreover, not only this under the FTP, not only under the Customs Act, by chance if there is a road tab, you want to take a refund there, and then what to do? There are some other incentives have to be taken under some other schemes of the government, then what is to be done? Everywhere EBRC is there. So wherever it has to go, all things are interconnected as of today. So when the realization is made, right? Now, this is also relevant for another purpose, that if the exporter fails to realize the export proceeds within the given time, that information also goes to RBI without any interference with the bank. Automatically goes to the bank, RBI. Right? Now, if you remember, I spoke about export realization under FEMA. So first of all, the banker himself is having the right to allow extension up to 1 year for realization of export proceeds. And if it is not realized, then another option left is go to the RBI for the waiver or reduction of the export realization. And if that is also not done, then only some penal action is going to be taken by RBI. But the information goes to RBI as and when the time limit expires and the export proceeds are not realized. Okay, so EBRC is a very important document, but that is giving the facility that as and when it is issued with the bank. So when it is issued by the bank, so issue of the EBRC is also an automatic process. So as soon as the export proceeds are realized, EBRC issued automatically, that automatically goes to all the authorities to whom this is relevant. So whether it is Ministry of Finance or it is DGFT or it is RBI or any other authority, that goes automatically. तो ये सब पिछले 4-5 साल के डेवलपमेंट हैं, है ना. तो दोज हु आर इन द ट्रेड फॉर मोर देन 5 years, उनको पता है पहले फिजिकल कॉपी करने में क्या होता था. ट्रेड डेटा उसकी जरूरत नहीं है. यस. Now trade facilities for the customs, only 2 lines are relevant here. Number 1, 24/7 facilities available at 20 seaports and 17 airports. This is not the list of all the customs stations. This is the number only in relation to where 24/7 facility is available. 20 seaports and 17 airports. For example, Pune Airport, 24/7 facility is not there. Right. So this facility, custom clearance facility, is available at these, and there is one concept called Turant Customs. So on Turant Customs, someday we will discuss it separately. What is the facility under Turant Customs? So lots of procedural formalities are there, which are done quickly, and customs are there to provide the support. That is called Turant Customs. So this is one point which we need to discuss in detail. और इसमें और कोई चीज करने लायक नहीं है. अब यहाँ पर आ जाते हैं AEO, Authorized Economic Operator Program. Who is the Authorized Economic Operator? This is also a status given to the persons who are involved in import-export activity at a certain level. So there are different levels in this activity also. So there is another status. 1-star export house, 2-star export house, 3-star export house, 4-star and 5-star export house. That is one status. And being AEO, that is another status. Okay. So this says based on World Customs Organization. WCO stands for World Customs Organization. Safe framework of standards, Authorized Economic Operator Program has been developed by Indian Customs to enable the business involved in international business to reap the following benefits. So what is the object of Authorized Economic Operator Program? Object. This says secure supply chain from point of export to point of import. Right. Now this is both ways. It is for import also, it is for export also. And under Authorized Economic Operator Program, the government of India signs a memorandum of understanding with the customs of another country. So any certification or documentation done here or anything certified here will be accepted there, and same happens in case of import from that country. तो वहां से अगर कोई सामान आ रहा तो then we accept their document, their certification, and export के मामले में our documents are accepted by the authorities in that country. So that's a secure supply chain and ability to demonstrate compliance with the security standards, contracting to supply overseas importer and exporter. Enhance. This is called mutual recognition agreement. Mutual recognition means certificates and documents issued by Indian authorities are acceptable by the foreign authorities, and certificates and documents issued by foreign authorities are acceptable by the Indian authorities, and that is done through MRA, that is referred as mutual recognition agreement. तो कुछ कंट्रीज के साथ हम ये एग्रीमेंट्स ऑलरेडी कर चुके हैं. ओके, कौन सी कंट्रीज, उसके लिए आप ये अंदाजा यहां से लीजिएगा. इंडियन कस्टम्स has signed MRA with the साउथ कोरिया, ताइवान, हांगकांग, यूएस, और भी सारे हो चुके हैं, लेकिन फिलहाल के लिए आप इतना समझ सकते हैं. जैसा अभी MRA ऑलरेडी साइन हुए, तो MRA स्टैंड्स फॉर म्यूचुअल रिकॉग्निशन एग्रीमेंट. So what is the purpose of MRA? The documents and certifications issued by Indian customs are acceptable by the customs of that country and vice versa. Okay. अब यहां पर इस लाइन में आपको समझ में आ जाएगा क्या होता है ये. As a step further toward the trust-based compliance, MRA provides for what? It is a trust-based compliance. Indian Customs has introduced the new or revamped Authorized Economic Operator program, wherein extensive benefits, including greater facilitation and self-certification, have been provided to those entities who have demonstrated the internal self-control compliance with CBIC. So when the import-export have reached a certain level, and when the person is having a status of at least 2-star export house, तब सारी चीजें उनके सेल्फ सर्टिफिकेशन में चली जाती है. उनको हर चीज के लिए किसी अथॉरिटी का सर्टिफिकेशन की आवश्यकता नहीं होती. एंड इवन दे डोंट रिक्वायर ए बैंक गारंटी फॉर रिमूवल ऑफ द गुड्स फॉर स्पेसिफिक पर्पसेस. तो हर चीज में उनका सेल्फ सर्टिफिकेशन काम करता है. इवन फॉर द मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस ऑल्सो, एंड इवन फॉर सर्टिफिकेट ऑफ ओरिजिन ऑल्सो, सेल्फ सर्टिफिकेशन इज वैलिड फॉर ऑथराइज्ड इकोनॉमिक ऑपरेटर. राइट. अब उसके डिटेल अगर करना है तो यहाँ पर ढेर सारा दे रखा है, लेकिन वी विल डू दैट सेपरेटली वन डे इन द क्लास, ऑथराइज्ड इकोनॉमिक ऑपरेटर. तो फिलहाल डिस्कस नहीं करते, आपको सिंपल समझ में आना चाहिए. तो ऑथराइज्ड इकोनॉमिक ऑपरेटर, दैट इज आल्सो स्टेटस गिवन टू द इंपोर्टर्स एंड एक्सपोर्टर हु हैव ऑलरेडी अटेन्ड अ सर्टेन लेवल in the course of international business, and the best facility is MRA. MRA stands for mutual recognition. So authorized economic operators are under MRA, so their documents are acceptable by the foreign authorities, and foreign authority certifications are issued by Indian custom authorities, and they get lots of extra facilities, and one of the best facilities is speedy clearance, and no bank guarantees etc. are required for clearance of the document. Plus they also get the right to make the payment of the imported duty in installments. Deferment installment भी मिलते हैं उनको, है ना. So that is an extra facility which is not available otherwise. Okay. Now there is a concept of towns of export excellence. So यहाँ पर under this category, the central government is trying to promote the smaller cities surrounded with the villages where the manufacturing facility is available and having the potential to become an export hub. So depending upon the type of products, so whether those are handicraft products or those are other products, depending upon the manufacturing value. So depending upon what is the value of the goods manufactured therein, certain towns may be declared as towns of export excellence. तो हो सकता है आज वहां से एक्सपोर्ट हो रहा है या नहीं हो रहा, लेकिन पोटेंशियल है. अगर पोटेंशियल है, that is declared, then it may be declared as a town of export excellence. Condition क्या है? Selected towns producing goods. Now what is the being used? Producing goods of 750 crores. Export की बात ही नहीं कर रहे. What is the value of the production there in that town or city? Production is only 750 crores, very small amount, isn't it? एक छोटी सी फैक्ट्री भी लगा दो, 10-20 करोड़ तो वैसे आ जाते हैं, और हर शहर में 10-20 फैक्ट्री तो है ही. तो 750 करोड़ रुपए का टर्नओवर, उसमें कोई बड़ा फिगर है ही नहीं. तो वेरी स्मॉल फिगर. एंड इफ इट इज हैंडीक्राफ्ट तो मामला और नीचे चला गया. 150 crores only, and that is annual figure. That is not monthly, that is not daily, it is the annual figure. कि अगर इतना प्रोडक्शन वहां पर हो सकता है, या इतना वहां पर हैंडीक्राफ्ट और हैंडलूम एक्टिविटीज वहां पर हैं, then that can be declared as a town of export excellence. And if it is declared the town of export excellence, तो ये चीजें figures आपको याद रखने के हैं. Handloom, handicrafts, fisheries, etc. 150 crores. Any other item, rupees 750 crores. And if it is declared in the town of export excellence, then what happens? The following facilities shall be provided. First is, recognized association of units will be provided financial assistance under MAI scheme on a priority basis for export promotion projects. So simply you can say financial assistance on priority basis for export promotion. And number two, common service provider in these areas will be entitled for EPCG scheme. So two facilities will be given. So here you can put town of export excellence. Towns of export excellence. Handloom, handicraft, fisheries, etc. Other goods. For this, it is 150 crores. For this, it is 750 crores. On declaration of TEE, Town of Export Excellence. Number one, speedy finance for export promotion projects. And number two, common service provider can avail EPCG. Common service provider can avail EPCG scheme. Okay.
Sir, who is common service provider, sir?
Coming to that only. Coming. है ना? अब उस पर जाने के पहले थोड़ा सा EPCG के बारे में ब्रीफ समझ लीजिएगा. So those who are not aware about EPCG, let me give them a small brief. Then ये point आपको समझ में आएगा. So EPCG stands for Export Promotion
Capital goods.
Promotion Capital
Goods scheme.
Goods, right? EPCG scheme. So these are goods. What is the meaning of capital goods?
Given in the definition.
Refer chapter number 11, right? So when we say capital goods, so capital goods, general understanding is different, and the definition given under this chapter number 11 is little wider. Okay, so once, so this scheme is available for whom?
For exporter.
Any manufacturer and service provider can avail this scheme
For the purpose of manufacturing and export.
for import of capital goods without paying import duty. First thing is, any manufacturer and service provider can avail this. Right. अब उसको सबसे बड़ा बेनिफिट क्या मिल रहा है? Import capital goods without payment of duty. अब इसके बदले में क्या होता है? The importer is under obligation for additional exports. So whatever his existing level of export, that will not be counted. So that's why I've used the word additional exports of 6 times of the
Received.
amount of duty saved during
6 years.
next 6 years. ये ब्रीफ में EPCG स्कीम है. Who can avail this scheme? Manufacturer
Service provider.
as well as service provider both. Right. The benefit of this scheme: import capital goods without payment of duty. But that doesn't come free. There is an obligation, and obligation is export. Export to the extent of
6 times
of the amount of duty saved within a period of 6
years
after removal of the goods for home consumption. Okay. Now this is the condition. क्या उसको एक्सपोर्ट करना पड़ेगा? Right. अब लेकिन प्रॉब्लम यहां पर आती है जब हमने बात की टाउन ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट एक्सेलेंस में हैव अ कॉमन सर्विस प्रोवाइडर. अब इसको रिलेट आप कर सकते हैं बिकॉज EPCG is basically for export, right? So the person who is importing the capital goods under EPCG shall be exporting the goods. The common service provider, I'm using the word CSP. For example, warehousing, packing, transporting, water treatment, power supply, etc. So common service may be in relation to any number of any of these activities. Plus I have used the word etc. So that is not the end of the list, right? Now just imagine a situation that here we have a common service provider. Right? In some industrial area. And imagine that he is giving the facility of maybe water treatment. Right. So every factory is required to have a water treatment plant before that is discharged in the canal. So there has to be that facility. But every factory going to have the water treatment plant is a little expensive affair. So why the common facility cannot exist? So here there can be a situation of factory number 1, factory number 2, factory number 3, factory number 4, factory number 5, factory number 6. All these are exporters. And all of them are availing the services from the same person. Right. So imagine that all 6 factories, instead of having a separate water treatment plant, there is one common water treatment plant. So sewage from all the 6 factories comes to one place and then it is treated and then waste is discharged in the water canal. Now this person is not exporting anything. Common service provider is giving services to whom?
Exporter.
Exporter को
Town,
शामिल करें. He is
but
not exporting anything.
the units of the towns, unit of the towns.
Right. So common service provider is not exporting anything at all. Right. But still the facility of export is given to him, or rather EPCG is given to him. That is the specialty. Otherwise, I told you earlier that the person who is availing EPCG is under the obligation to do the exports to the extent of 6 times of the value amount of the duty saved during 6 years. But this person is not going to export anything at all.
सर्विसेज तो दे रहे हैं सर.
किसको दे रहा है? एक्सपोर्ट थोड़ी कर रहा है.
नहीं, एक्सपोर्टर्स को सर्विसेज दे रहा है.
एक्सपोर्टर को दे रहा है.
हाँ जी.
राइट. अब इसीलिए उसको स्पेसिफिकली कहा गया कि अगर ये टाउन ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट एक्सेलेंस है तो कॉमन सर्विस प्रोवाइडर हु इज नॉट रियली एक्सपोर्टिंग एनीथिंग, ही कैन आल्सो अवेल ईपीसीजी स्कीम. राइट. अदरवाइज सर्विस प्रोवाइडर जो एक्सपोर्ट नहीं कर रहा उसको फैसिलिटी नहीं मिलने वाली, बट टाउन्स ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट एक्सेलेंस में फैसिलिटी मिलेगी. दैट इज द ब्यूटी ऑफ दैट. राइट. अदरवाइज उसको शामिल करने की जरूरत ही नहीं था ना.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, in this case, like what he will do? He's not going to give any output or something like that. Will he increase the capacity of his plant to clean the water?
नहीं, देखिए उसमें ये भी हो सकता है कि एग्जिस्टिंग सेटअप को भी अगर आप चेंज करना चाहें इंस्टेड ऑफ इंक्रीजिंग द कैपेसिटी, सो अपग्रेडेशन तो हो ही सकता है, टेक्नोलॉजिकल अपग्रेडेशन.
He can buy the capital goods for that treatment purpose.
Not only that, for running the office also there are even
Office
computers are included in the capital goods.
And also
But
he
sir,
can, that exporter can
understood.
put his EPCC number also in their export. So there will be some understanding agreement. So he can also show the EPCC license number in the real actual exporter.
So that I understood that he will get the machinery or some facility of capital goods, which will in turn help him to increase or improve his productivity. My question is how he will repay the duty part
उसको तो
if
रिपे
nothing is export.
उसको कुछ नहीं करना है. Indirectly you can say he doesn't have export obligation.
Okay.
Yeah.
The
Thank
common
you, sir.
service provider doesn't have any export obligation. So that's why I
Understood,
told you
understood.
what is general EPCG and what is common service provider. So common service provider is not exporting anything, but still he is entitled for EPCG. Means he can import the capital goods without paying duty.
Maybe some yearly report.
Understood, sir.
He should have the obligation also.
No.
No, he
Without
maybe
obligation.
some yearly report he may be to give with his invoicing to
Without
the
obligation,
exporter.
he can get the EPCG.
Yes. देखिए common service provider है, he is not exporting anything. Right.
Okay, but there should be some obligation.
No, this is special provision. So it
हमने already बात की, special provision always prevail over general provision. So EPCG is everybody is having export obligation. But EPCG, when we talk about common service provider in the town of export,
town of excellence, so it's a special, yes.
Sir, what are the checks and mechanism whether the common service provider is providing facility to the industries which are involving in the export?
when
Yearly invoicing, he will do it, no? He will do it to the
when
invoicing.
application is made, first of all, a document has to be obtained from all the people who are availing the services from common service provider
Yes.
or likely to avail.
And also maybe
When the
yearly is
document is
invoicing.
taken, that is to be attached with the application form, only then that is approved.
Sir, one more question.
Yes.
Suppose if there is one common service provider, is it possible that he is providing services to 10 export units and say 10 DTA units? Is that okay?
Certainly. So it is not saying exclusively to the common service, exclusively to the exporters. He's a common service provider providing to many people. So some of those may be exporters, some of those may not be exporter.
Sir, what is the necessity to get to take the EPCG for common service provider?
No, some plant and machinery he
Cost of
may
service
take.
can be reduced to a certain extent.
Local tax he can avoid.
1 minute, sir.
Take another example. Right? Can the tourist operator or tour operators who are rather the taxi owners or taxi services, can they avail the EPCG scheme?
Yes, they can have.
they can avail. Right now, who's going to keep a check on that whether they are servicing provider, they are providing services to the tourists or they are providing services to the local customers?
Their yearly earnings will be there, no, sir. They will report it.
Realization in rupee is also equivalent to realization in foreign exchange for the purpose of this.
Sir, they have to show in tax income return.
कि किसको कितनी सर्विसेज दी वो एक अलग चीज है, दैट इज ओनली फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ रिकॉर्ड, बट देयर इज नो एक्सपोर्ट ऑब्लिगेशन. Okay, so question is when you avail the EPCG, whether any services have been increased or anything has improved over the past performance or not. So only for that purpose the reporting is there, but no export obligation to the common service provider in the town of export excellence.
You should be inside the TE, that's all.
Sir, what are the consequences if the individual does not able to repay the 6-time duties in 6 years?
Section 11 of the FTDRE. क्या है वो?
Fine penalty.
कितनी पेनल्टी है?
5 times.
10,000 or
10,000
10,000 or
5
5 times.
5 times of the
or 5
value
times
of
of the
अब
goods.
अगर 10,000 होगा
Student
तो
service.
EPCG वाला तो आइटम है नहीं वो, है ना? And right now the currently a scheme is going on in which the DGFT has given a MNST scheme for any default under EPCG. Scheme is going on. तो अगर आपका कोई क्लाइंट हो या जिसका लफड़ा फंसा हुआ हो, अभी क्लियर कर लो EPCG डिफॉल्ट के, है ना?
क्या है सर, क्या है सर?
Amnesty scheme is there. Amnesty means it is a kind of relief given कि जो भी violations हो सबको write off करके खत्म करो, small penalty देके.
In simple, like what benefit a common serviceman gets in the EPCG? In simple, sir, like what benefit he will get in the EPCG, sir? Common service provider.
Common service provider को तो सिर्फ capital goods reduced price पे मिल रहे हैं और कोई benefit उसको नहीं मिल रहा है.
Oh, I mean, value of the goods will be like reduced for him.
To the extent of amount of duty, the value of the capital goods is reduced. Right, but if he doesn't avail this, he is going to get the benefit under the income tax act. Whatever duty he pays, he can capitalize and claim depreciation on that. But that is a long-term process for the recovery of amount. Without paying duty, if he can clear the goods, his funds are not involved there.
This is all mess, sir. Again, like no one is going to use this EPCG as in.
Why not?
Why? Initially, they will not pay the taxes, no? It is a cash flow.
Everybody is going to avail this.
Everybody is going to
जिसको
avail.
मौका मिल जाएगा, he will avail the facility.
But some companies, crores of rupees also duty may be there. So
Why not? For common service provider, as I said, warehousing. Now, for running a warehouse itself, lots of machinery is required.
Okay.
Right. Now, there may be one large warehousing facility in the industrial area that is a common service provider. Okay. So, he is storing the goods of all the manufacturers around. Half of them are exporter, half of them are not the exporters. Okay. So, there is no bifurcation that these are the services given to exporter, these are the services given to non-exporters.
So whole
But there is an increase in the services that is good enough to provide.
Sir, it means cold storage can get the EPCG.
Yes, cold store तो priority sector में है. प्रोजेक्ट इंपोर्ट का आपने पूरा नहीं पढ़ा? स्टोर तो प्रायोरिटी सेक्टर में आता है. Okay, so if you want to import any of the goods in relation to cold storage, you can avail the project import, and that again EPCG, double benefit. So double benefit means all the goods are subjected to same rate of duty, but then nothing is payable because of EPCG. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं. Now this is next is status holder certification. Now this status is based on export performance during current year plus preceding 3 years.
सर 1.24 थोड़ा सा क्लियर कर दीजिए, वो क्लियर नहीं है मेरा. 1.24
कौन सा? ये
हाँ,
ड्यूटी फ्री अवेल एंटाइटलमेंट टू सर्टेन सेक्टर्स. अरे ये छोटा सा पॉइंट है इसलिए मैंने इसको ओमिट कर दिया, बिकॉज इसमें कहा मरीन सेक्टर जो इतना भी एक्सपोर्ट करेगा उनको 1% FOB वैल्यू एक्सपोर्ट का जो ड्यूटी फ्री इंपोर्ट अलाउ करने के लिए ऑथराइजेशन मिलेगा. Only the FOB value of export they can import without payment of any duty. और export goods अगर है तो 3% उनको राइट मिलता है to import the goods without payment of duty. but this is very small segment, इसलिए इसकी मैंने आपसे चर्चा नहीं की.
अच्छा अच्छा नहीं अच्छा, इसलिए इससे पहले भी नहीं पढ़ा था ना, दिमाग में नहीं आया था.
जरूरत नहीं है उसको, छोड़ दीजिए. Now, स्टेटस होल्डर की बात करें, दिस स्टेटस होल्डर दिस डिपेंड्स अपॉन एक्सपोर्ट परफॉर्मेंस ड्यूरिंग प्रेजेंट ईयर प्लस प्रीसीडिंग 3 years. और अगर मामला जेम्स एंड ज्वेलरी का हो, देन इंस्टेड ऑफ 3 years इट इज टेकन फॉर 2 years. Now see, for grant of status, export performance would be necessary in all the 3 preceding. तो करंट ईयर तो चाहिए, करंट प्लस प्रीसीडिंग 3. And in case of gems and jewelry, this becomes preceding 2. So current plus preceding 2 years. So this is aggregate export performance. Averaging नहीं करना है, जरा ध्यान रखिएगा उसको. So we are talking about the aggregate export turnover during current plus preceding 3 years. Okay. तो यहां से देखिएगा. All exporters of goods, services, and technology having IEC number on the date of application. तो IEC तो आपको पहले दिन से चाहिए when you want to enter into import export activity. लेकिन कब आपको IEC नहीं चाहिए? If you are dealing only with
So with services and without taking the
services and
benefit.
the technology, right? If you don't want to avail any facility, then you don't need this. But problem will come that if the IEC is not there at the time of export, then that performance will not be counted. That performance will not be counted for the status, right? Status के लिए भी नहीं और उसका कोई incentive भी नहीं मिलने वाला, क्योंकि we already have SEIS scheme under chapter number 4, services exports from India scheme. So if the valid IEC does not exist at the time of export, neither SEIS benefits will be available, nor that will be counted for the status. So the requirement is there should be a valid IEC as on the date of application, shall be eligible for recognition as a status holder on export performance. An applicant may be categorized as status holder on achieving the threshold export performance in the current plus preceding 3 years. Right? अगर आप यहां पढ़ेंगे तो उसमें करंट की बात ही नहीं कर रहे हैं. Right? So यहां पर कह रहे हैं export performance in the current plus preceding 3 years. And in case of gems and jewelry, current plus preceding 2 years is to be taken. And export performance shall be counted on the basis of FOB value of export earnings in freely convertible foreign currency. तो FOB value पर सारा कैलकुलेशन चल रहा है कि कितना आपने एक्सपोर्ट किया है. And we are not talking about average at all. What is said here is export performance in the current plus preceding 3 financial years. Averaging की बात नहीं है. Now, how much export performance is required? These are the important figures for you to remember. These can be questions for MCQs. There are 5 levels: 1 star, 2 star, 3 star, 4 star, 5 star levels. And 1 star export house is $3 million. But that performance is in current plus preceding 3 years. है ना? तो 1 साल का परफॉर्मेंस नहीं है. This is current plus preceding 3 years. 2 star export house, $15 million. 3 star export house, 50 millions. 4 star export house, 200. 5 star export house, $800 million. So these limits have been actually brought down. Earlier, the 5 star export house used to be 2,000 million. So that limit has been brought down to a certain extent. These are the figures which are required to be achieved for having the status. So these figures are relevant, and these are total export performance during current plus preceding 3 years. All right. And in case of gems and jewelry, current plus preceding
2 years.
2 years. अगर ये लेवल आता है तो ये स्टेटस आपको मिलते हैं. And 2 star and above export houses, then they also get a right to establish export warehouse. एक तो import warehousing जो आपने customs act में ऑलरेडी पढ़ा है ना. So import warehouse can be established under section 57, 58 or 58A. Those are there. Okay, but export warehouse can be established only by status holder export houses, provided they are a minimum 2 star export house. So what is the benefit of export warehouse?
They can certify.
Bond and bank guarantee.
Self certify, sir.
they
Norms.
can procure
Can
the
manage.
goods from domestic market without paying GST.
Even 1-star also, sir?
No, only 2-star and above.
They can maintain on Sion also.
And then whatever goods they procure without GST, they can export within next 3 years. बहुत बड़ा benefit मिल गया ना उनको. They can buy the goods without paying GST. Otherwise, paying the GST, availing the credit, claiming the refund, that is not an easy process. Right? So they get a right. So that right is available only for 2-star and above export houses. Okay. So these are 5 labels. So 3, 15, 50, 200 and 800. इस figure को याद रखो. 3, 15, 50, 200 and
15,
800.
200, 800.
ओके. अब जो 1-स्टार एक्सपोर्ट हाउस है उनमें कुछ परफॉर्मेंस को डबल स्टैंडर्ड काउंट किया जाता है. तो जो एक्चुअल परफॉर्मेंस उससे डबल कैलकुलेट करते हैं, बट ओनली फॉर 1-स्टार एक्सपोर्ट हाउस. जब बेसिक एंटाइटलमेंट मिलना है किसी को कि वेदर ही इज एक्सपोर्ट हाउस और नॉट, एंड दैट टू फॉर 1-स्टार एक्सपोर्ट हाउस, तो कुछ एक्सपोर्ट परफॉर्मेंसेस का ट्रीटमेंट जो कैलकुलेशन है वो डबल कर दिया जाता है. सो डबल वेटेज उनको दे दिया जाता है. So this double weightage shall be available for grant of 1-star export house only. जब आप 2-स्टार के लेवल पे आएंगे तो एक्चुअल काउंट होगा. 1-स्टार में आपको डबल वेटेज मिल जाएगा, लेकिन कुछ सर्टेन सेक्टर्स का. कौन कौन से सेक्टर्स है वो? माइक्रो एंड स्मॉल एंटरप्राइजेस which are already enrolled under the micro, small and medium enterprises. तो वहां रजिस्ट्रेशन अगर है तो whatever export performances that will be counted double. So effectively यहाँ पर $3 million की
1.5 million.
1.5 million में उनका काम हो जाएगा, but they will get the status of
1-star.
1-star export house, right? Or there is a manufacturing unit where it is
ISO.
northeast, or that is in Jammu Kashmir or Ladakh, तो भी आपको डबल स्टेटस उसमें मिल रहा है. Right. So double weightage is given only for 1-star export house. सबके लिए नहीं है. Right. कौन कौन से हैं? Micro, small and medium enterprises, and number 2, it is a manufacturing unit located in the northeast or Jammu Kashmir as well, including Ladakh. But that has to be manufacturing.
Sir, ISO certificate for throughout India, na sir?
Yes. ये तो दोनों throughout India के लिए applicability है. Okay, but you see in northeast and Jammu Kashmir there has to be a manufacturing facility. अगर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग नहीं है तो डबल वेटेज नहीं मिल रहा. है ना? आगे आइए. Other conditions for grant of the status. Export performance of one IEC shall not be permitted to be transferred to another IEC holder. क्या कर सकते हैं इसमें कि उसमें ऑलरेडी कहा दैट एक्सपोर्ट परफॉर्मेंस अंडर द रजिस्टर्ड आईईसी एट द टाइम ऑफ एक्सपोर्ट विल बी टेकन इनटू अकाउंट. तो अब दूसरे का परफॉर्मेंस आप बोरो नहीं कर सकते या आप उससे ट्रांसफर करा लें. तो पहले बिजनेस के टर्नओवर ट्रांसफर होते थे इधर से उधर, तो वो चीजें अलाउड नहीं है. एक्सपोर्ट्स मेड ऑन री एक्सपोर्ट बेसिस शैल नॉट बी काउंटेड फॉर रिकॉग्निशन. कि आपने कोई सामान मंगा लिया ट्रेडिंग करके आप वापस एक्सपोर्ट कर दे, दैट विल नॉट बी काउंटेड फॉर एक्सपोर्ट हाउस. एंड एक्सपोर्ट आइटम्स अंडर ऑथराइजेशन एटसेट्रा ये सब काउंट होंगे क्योंकि आप ईपीसीजी में है, एडवांस ऑथराइजेशन में है और बाकी सारे ऑथराइजेशन है, वहां पर एक्सपोर्ट आपको करना ही करना है. तो दैट विल बी काउंटेड फॉर दिस पर्पस ऑल्सो, बिकॉज यहाँ पर आपको कुछ मिल नहीं रहा. यहाँ पर केवल आपको एक स्टेटस दे दिया और स्टेटस से आपको दूसरे फायदे मिल रहे, डायरेक्टली गवर्नमेंट आपको कुछ नहीं दे रही. तो उन्होंने कहा एक्सपोर्ट आप किसी भी स्कीम में कर रहे हो दैट इज ओके, दैट विल बी काउंटेड फॉर हेयर ऑल्सो. ओके. अब जो प्रिविलेजेस हैं एक्सपोर्ट स्टेटस होल्डर्स के, उसमें से कुछ चीजें यहां पर हम चर्चा कर सकते हैं. नॉट ऑल, क्या फायदे मिलते हैं उनको. ऑथराइजेशन एंड कस्टम क्लियरेंस फॉर बोथ इंपोर्ट एक्सपोर्ट में भी परमिट अंडर सेल्फ डिक्लेरेशन. सब कुछ सेल्फ डिक्लेरेशन पे काम हो जाता है उनका. ऑथराइजेशन एंड कस्टम क्लियरेंस, राइट, सब कुछ सेल्फ डिक्लेरेशन. इनपुट आउटपुट नॉर्म्स अगर नहीं है तो प्रायोरिटी बेसिस पर उनको 60 दिन के अंदर फिक्स करके मिलते हैं. तो ये काहे के लिए चाहिए इनपुट आउटपुट नॉर्म्स?
तो फॉर मैन्युफैक्चरिंग द गुड व्हिच इज मैन्युफैक्चरिंग द गुड्स, उनको जो एक्सपोर्ट करेंगे
to import inputs.
ड्यूटी ड्रॉबैक में भी काम आएगा, फॉर एडवांस ऑथराइजेशन में भी काम आएगा,
Yeah, for
में
wastage.
भी काम आएगा, right? So for any item for which the standard input output norms do not exist, if they are a status holder, they can make an application for the fixation of cyan, and those will be fixed on priority basis within a period of 60 days.
Even for 26A claim also this
For script, ना sir,
wastage.
for script.
है ना? प्लस आगे अब उनको और भी एग्जाम्पशन दे दिया किस चीज से, फर्निशिंग एनी बैंक गारंटी फॉर द स्कीम्स अंडर एफटीपी। तो जब भी एडवांस ऑथराइजेशन एंड डीएफआईए वगैरह होता है, ईपीसीजी होता है, यू आर रिक्वायर्ड टू गिव एन अंडरटेकिंग एंड लॉस सपोर्टेड विद अ बैंक गारंटी दैट इज नॉट रिक्वायर्ड फॉर द स्टेटस होल्डर्स। एग्जाम्पशन फॉर कंपलसरी नेगोशिएशन थ्रू द बैंक, आप डायरेक्टली नेगोशिएट कर लो। तो अब जब आप सर्टेन लेवल पे जा चुके हैं तो फिर बैंक के थ्रू नेगोशिएशन कंपलसरी नहीं होता, बट इट इज ऑलवेज सेफर टू नेगोशिएट थ्रू द बैंक।
So meaning this export proceedings documentation, sir. Compulsory.
कंपलसरी बैंक के थ्रू नहीं है अगर आप स्टेटस होल्डर हैं तो, लेकिन मैंने कहा वो फिर भी हमेशा सेफर हुई है कि बैंक के थ्रू आप नेगोशिएट करें, ताकि कल को कोई ऑब्लिगेशन, कोई ऑब्जेक्शंस ना आए कहीं से।
Negotiation through bank means, sir?
बैंक के थ्रू डॉक्यूमेंट जाएंगे कस्टमर को, जब वो पेमेंट डिस्चार्ज कर देगा तो उसको डॉक्यूमेंट मिल जाएंगे, ही कैन रिलीज द गुड्स।
He will ask bill of lading, this signature is not there, seal is not there, like that he will refuse. So that time we tell them this is our export, you proceed.
तो वो सेफर साइड में तभी होता है। सेफ ये है कि सब डॉक्यूमेंट जब बैंक के थ्रू आप डिलीवर करवाते हैं उसको, the bank will ensure that all the requirements are complied with, then only he can get the goods released.
Yes.
तो कम से कम गुड्स आपके सेफ हैं। कल को किसी बदमाश आदमी के हाथ में अगर आपने डॉक्यूमेंट गुड्स भेज दिए, उसने गुड्स रिलीज करा दी, कल को पेमेंट नहीं दिया तो क्या करोगे आप?
For remittance itself, we will ask many documents, many procedures.
Right.
So that can be avoided.
So negotiation through the bank is always a desirable process unless you have a very strong existing relationship with the customer. Then हैंडलिंग सारा उनका प्रेफरेंशियल बेसिस पर हो जाता है। ओके, तो ये कुछ चीजें हैं जो आपको थोड़ा सा पढ़ के रखना है, ज्यादा उसको करने की जरूरत नहीं है। ये नई स्कीम गवर्नमेंट लाई है इसके लिए, मेंटरशिप डेवलपमेंट की। जो एक्सपोर्ट हाउसेज है उनको इतने लोगों को ट्रेनिंग में हमेशा रखना है ताकि एक्सपोर्ट ट्रेनिंग उनको करो। 1 स्टार एक्सपोर्ट हाउसेज को रखने की जरूरत नहीं है, और ये ट्रेनिंग पर ईयर है, उतने लोगों को आप एक्सपोर्ट में ट्रेनिंग देंगे। 2 स्टार, 3 स्टार, 4 स्टार, 5 स्टार, तो 5, 10, 50 इतने लोगों को हर साल उनको ट्रेन करना ही करना है। ओके, और यहाँ पर आकर ये वाला चैप्टर हमारा पूरा खत्म हो जाता है। तो चैप्टर नंबर 1 जब आप खुद पढ़ने जाएंगे तो मुश्किल से 45 मिनट्स आपको लगेंगे, उससे ज्यादा का समय नहीं लगना चाहिए। जो पॉइंट मैंने ओमिट कर दिया क्लियरली ओमिट कर दो। whatever we have discussed, focus only on those points. ठीक है? So this is chapter number 1 of FTP. उसके पहले मैंने आपको होमवर्क में क्या क्या दिया?
Acronyms and
English
chapter
and chapter
11
11.
and chapter number 11.
राइट, वो 2 चीजें आप कर लो बिकॉज आपके पास अगले 2 दिन हैं। राइट, चैप्टर नंबर 2 अगर आप पढ़ सकते हैं वेल एंड गुड, नहीं पढ़ सकते आई एम गोइंग टू डिस्कस दैट इन डिटेल। तो चैप्टर 2, चैप्टर 4, चैप्टर 5, चैप्टर 6 वी विल डिस्कस इन डिटेल। चैप्टर नंबर 1 में बहुत ज्यादा कुछ नहीं था, इसलिए आई गॉन लिटिल स्पीडियर, ताकि उसमें ज्यादा चीजें नहीं है, बट दोज आर रिलेवेंट एंड दोज आर इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर एग्जाम ऑल्सो। So, अगर आप चैप्टर 2 पढ़ सकते हो जरूर पढ़िए, नहीं पढ़ सकते तो कम से कम एक्रोनिम्स प्लस डेफिनेशंस उतना जरूर कर लीजिएगा।